Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined, as always, by Sean Keenan.
Heidi thinks that Hugh Jackman makes a great skunk bear.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I always suspected Cyclops drove a Mazda.
Let me tell you, kids, we got a big one on par for you here today. Today we're going to be doing X2, X-Men United, or just X-Men 2, or whatever the heck you want to, sure, right?
Oh, yeah, X2.
X2. There's like 15 different titles for it, and I'm sure if you went to other countries, there would be other titles for it there as well. That's how they kind of do these wild and crazy things. I don't know, but thank you for joining us yet again on our fine program. We got a ton of stuff for you guys today, but first off, we need to do a little bit of something here, because sometimes there are people that take time out of their just day, and they just go, man, what can I do with approximately 45 seconds of my life? I feel like I'm lacking some sort of, there's something in my life that's missing. And then they go down to the iTunes and they drop us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And we get as follows. This one here is from Carlton_Took, T-O-O-K. It is entitled Outstanding, Enlightening, and Entertaining. Here we go. It's about time I leave this review, as I have been listening to the show since its launch and is now one of, if not the only show that I keep up with on a weekly basis, and in my opinion is the best hero movie review show. Take that, Dr. Dan. Take that, Dr. Dan. Do indeed.
Oh, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that Bilbo Baggins' mother's maiden name was Took.
Yeah, there's a Took in there. Mm-hmm. Boy, are we getting it. It's nerdy already, boy. It don't stop.
I literally hopped off the page. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Well, it's probably better, and you're far cooler for not just, diving right into that going, well, I know these things. So
Leonard Nimoy would disagree, man. He loved that Bilbo Baggins.
Boy, he did, didn't he? What do you have to do to get to, the point where you're just, you're Spock, right? You don't have, much of a singing voice, but somebody just goes, no, we're gonna let him do it. We're gonna let him. we're gonna let Spock cut an album.
Oh man, what are the kids looking for these days? They want a Vulcan singing about a hobbit.
I'm just sad that that didn't happen more as time went on. Could you imagine if Jerry Orbach dropped a mixtape? Oh, it would have been amazing.
And it would have all been about Daenerys Targaryen.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't know. It's just it's utterly bizarre, but it's fun. So thank you, and if you'd like to, drop on down to the iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We got a couple more recently, and of course we'll talk about those in other shows, but that shouldn't stop you from going down, giving us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And it just helps get this show out to more people, and let me tell you guys, we see it. We look at the numbers every single week. They are climbing. They are climbing and climbing and climbing, and it's all because of you lovely people that do that and stuff, and we really appreciate that, man. Speaking of people that we appreciate, we also thank the people that join us down on Patreon, patreon.com/HMP, and throw a couple shekels our way. We got a new patron here. This is from Lee. Lee has dropped us a $2 pledge on there. Lee, guess what, my friend? You are going to be able to go through and, like all the other people from Patreon, be able to actually vote on the movie that we're watching this month, the viewer picked from all of our Patreon people. We're going to be talking about that. And, of course, we're going to be doing a bonus episode. And I got 2 or 3 ideas I want to juggle around with the fellas before we, while we're off air and everything. But I think we got a couple of good ideas for bonus episodes this month for you guys as well. And again, it all just helps the show go on a little bit further. And with the way my job is going right now, it may help pay for my rent. So things are not going well. Please, for the love of Pete, even $1 makes all the difference in the world. That's not even a joke at this point.
That's 3
Man, you're
packages
gonna
of
look
ramen
back
after
at
taxes.
You are going to look back at 5 years from now at this episode, and you're going to be like, man, I wish I hadn't have said that on the air.
No, I won't, because if my dog can't eat food, he dies, and I'll feel regretful about that forever. So,
But look at the bright side, then you can eat the dog.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I do have a Korean neighbor, so that should work out. I'm kidding, people. I'm kidding. I love Korean food. Anyways, before I dig any more of a deeper grave for myself, let's go ahead and take a listen to our trailer of the week. I just got a whole new setup here, so it's all kind of funky and weird for me. Here's the trailer for X2, X-Men United. Maybe. Hold on. There it is.
You have to understand, we thought Bobby was going to a school for the gifted.
Bobby is gifted. You should see what he can do. Have you tried not being a mutant?
Since the discovery of their existence, mutants have been regarded with fear, suspicion, often hatred.
Drop the knives and put your hands in the air.
I can't. Are they the next link in the evolutionary chain? Or simply a new species of humanity, fighting for their share of the world?
What do you need, William?
Just your authorization for a special operation, Mr. President.
We've managed to gather evidence of a mutant training facility in upstate New York.
This facility is a school.
Sure it is. Nobody really knows how many even exist, or how to find them, except you. Who are you?
I keep feeling something terrible is about to happen.
I would never let anything happen to you.
It's about to get very cold in here.
I need you to read my mind.
Sometimes the mind needs to discover things for itself.
They say you're the bad guy.
Is that what that said? What a talent you have there.
Most people will never know anything beyond what they see.
I have faith in you.
The next time you feel like showing off, don't.
I used to think you were one of a kind, Wolverine. I was wrong.
Thanks, trailer, for sounding really creepy and weird there at the end. That was with the cat and the claws. Boy, oh boy.
I didn't know what was going on there.
That just seemed, oh boy, in an audio-only format. That's bizarre. That is the trailer for X-Men 2. Here's the IMDb plotline. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. The X-Men band together to find a mutant assassin who has made an attempt on the president's life while the Mutant Academy is attacked by military forces. This is directed by Bryan Singer, written by Zach Penn, David Hayter, Michael Dougherty, and a little bit of Bryan Singer in there for the story as well. Starring you. Have you seen an X-Men movie? My guess is you know everyone that's bloody well in this. I'm not going through all of them because there's 85 characters, and you've all known them forever, and they're fantastic. What you may not know, though, is where our good friend Bruce Leslie's going to go, because we've covered a couple X-Men movies here. The first X-Men movie, of course, a couple of the other newer X-Men movies as of late. But Bruce, what do you have for our comic book connection this week?
Oh, this one was an easy one. X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills. Marvel graphic novel number 5, and it's an OGN because it was published in 1982, written by Chris Claremont. And legend has it that Neil Adams was initially approached to draw it, but Marvel wouldn't break him off enough papers, and the job went to Brent Anderson instead. Now, the bad guy of the story is Reverend William Stryker. He's not a general. He's not a military guy at all. He's Reverend William Stryker, and he's on a vendetta to kill mutants. And it's a plan that's discovered by the militant mutant Magneto. How's that for some alliteration, guys? But anyway, Stryker murdered his wife and newborn son because he found out that his son was born a mutant. And after that, he seeks the wholesale extermination of all mutant kind while presenting himself to the public as a fire and brimstone preacher. Stryker preaches that mutants are abominations in the eyes of God, and Professor X and Stryker actually hold a televised public debate on the topic of mutants, and of course, being ever the statesman, Stryker kidnaps Professor X. Now, Magneto and the X-Men recognize their common cause and team up to get the professor back. Xavier's hooked up to a machine that will use his psychic power to kill all of the world's mutants by linking him up to them and then killing him by causing some bleeding in his brain. Now, at an old-school church revival, Magneto and crew face off against Stryker, and they manage to rescue the professor. Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler trick Stryker into admitting that he kidnapped Professor X, and he also admits his plans for mutant genocide to the world. Stryker shot in the chest by a security guard when he tries to murder Shadowcat in public. That's Kitty Pryde, of course. And with the crisis averted, Magneto says thanks but no thanks to Professor X's invitation to become a permanent member of the X-Men, mainly because Magneto's opposed to the whole no evil plots clause in the membership contract. Now, the story ends with a dismal message for the mutants, because despite stopping Stryker, his message seems to be growing amongst fundamentalist Christians that mutants are evil and an affront to God. Now, I don't know if this is the first time comics ever painted evangelical Christians in a negative light, but it certainly is the most high-profile story to do it. And very intentionally, the first victims of Stryker's Purifier movement are African-American children, making overt a lot of the social issues X-Men has been suspected of tackling via allegory. Now, given the social impact of Adams, that's Neil Adams' Green Lantern, Green Arrow run, I can see why he would have been Jim Shooter's first choice for a biting social commentary like God Loves, Man Kills. One of the most famous pages in DC Comics history is the old African-American man asking Green Lantern, why has he done so much to help the green skins, the purple skins, and the orange skins, but he never does anything for the black skins? But Neil Adams knew that a man can't live on hollow earth conspiracy theories alone, and he needed to get paid. Now, this story is also significant because it is the point in the X-Men timeline where Magneto stops being pure evil, and folks are given a reason to wear shirts that say Magneto was right. And Sean, Adam, you both know I'm way more of a Magneto man than a Charles Xavier guy.
That's true.
Now, I do think...
With good reason.
I do think the story is summed up best by Tony Guerrero from Comic Vine. He says, X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills is one of those stories every comic fan should read. It's also one you could hand off to friends that think comics are just a bunch of characters fighting each other while wearing tights. There aren't many comics I would say are required reading, as everyone has their own tastes, but this is a book that should be read. It's a nice piece of history in seeing when things started escalating for the X-Men. It wasn't just other mutants or supervillains they had to fight. They now had a new enemy, bigoted mankind. Now, for me personally, I think this is the reason Chris Claremont deserves to be considered among the greats in the world of comic book writers. Days of Future Past and the Dark Phoenix saga are certainly higher profile and more widely read stories. But the way he took the gloves off and was ready to clash with a good many readers in this comic story, his fearlessness and his dedication to telling the story he wanted to tell back in 1982 earns him at least an honorable mention in discussions about how Frank Miller and Alan Moore revolutionized comics in the 80s.
Yeah, I think he gets a short shrift a lot of times for certain reasons. Some of them valid, some of them maybe not as valid, I guess. But I mean, I've always kind of put him up in the pantheon of some of the greats. Maybe not one of the greats, but definitely within that great category. In many cases,
his writing style definitely wasn't literary for the most part. A lot of really overdone exposition and dialogue, but that doesn't come through at all in God Loves, Man Kills, because this one he actually wrote it all to be one self-contained story, and he didn't have to do the thing where you did, Stan Lee's thing. Every comic is somebody's first comic. Don't have to have the thought bubble above Wolverine that says, I think I'll put my claws out. And then he puts his claws out, and then a speech bubble or a speech box says, I just put my claws out. Then someone looking at him says, I think he put his claws out. And then they say, you put your claws out. You know how he kind of did that? Everything, you had to read 4 times, everything that happened.
Hey, I always say you got your $1.50 when you bought that book, though. Because, it's just like, well, normally it takes me about 25 minutes to read a book. It's going to be about 50 minutes because there's a lot of stuff in here to read.
Yeah, but you don't get a lot of that in God Loves, Man Kills.
So every now and then, even the greats can back off from their kind of set in their ways kind of thing, for sure.
So I don't know about you guys, but I hadn't read. I had never even heard of God Loves, Man Kills until X-Men 2, X-Men United, and I went back and read it. It's a good story, but it's so derivative from that point forward because X-Men for I'd been reading it for 25 years, and that was the starting point basically of where I started reading it from without having actually read that first story.
Yeah,
and so. If you read it now, it's kind of dated because it's what the X-Men do is it's all allegory for treat everybody the same and blah blah blah. But that was really the first one where it was oh I see, this is a bigger, they're going for a bigger world here, and I never saw that. I mean I'd been reading it for 20 years at that point, so.
And at the time, this is 1982 when this story's published. And at the time, going all the way back to 1963 when they started out, people were always saying, look, this is an allegory for the civil rights movement. And Marvel's editorial staff's position was, no, you're just reading too much into this. So Chris Claremont finally just said, no, we're going to make this what it is. And from then on, it was an easy thing for the storytellers and the readers to embrace.
But that's what you don't know, true believers. I hid that from the people for years just on account I didn't want to rock no boats.
And it's also not insignificant that this starts what's such a deep theme in the X-Men now of Magneto being kind of that sometimes adversary, sometimes borderline colleague to full-on member of the X-Men when the need calls. I mean, this really added the multi-dimensional part to Magneto versus just the guy that started the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. No sympathy there with that name.
Yeah, with the first, it's not like what, but they could be good, right? I think it's in their name that they're evil.
Hey, yeah. Eric, can we talk about the name?
I know. I don't feel right about using the M word either, but we got to take back. No, that's not the problem, man.
Marketing is having a real problem getting this through to the people. It seems everyone's got this evil thing going on. I don't know where they get it, but what can we do about this to make things right?
Initially I wanted it to be the Sinister Mutants, but that Essex guy sued me, so I had to change it to something.
It's no good.
So 2003, man. Mm-hmm. I knew. I don't know about you guys. This was my favorite X-Men movie till Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I think for most people it was.
Yeah.
But I guess I just didn't realize just how old this movie is. 2003. Man, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and it is funny, like, really looking through this and stuff, and you figure, we're going to see the people that we've been seeing throughout all these movies and stuff, and man, now, it's not quite as a big a leap as back to X-Men 1, but everyone looks just so young and vibrant in this film. It's like,
and Wolverine's still rocking the absurd hair. I thought maybe Hugh Jackman had given up on the big curly cues on his head at this point, but he hadn't yet.
I still kind of like those. I mean, they are what they are, but like there's a part of me that goes, yes, they're absolutely ridiculous, but there's a part of me that likes them having the guts to kind of do that ridiculous hair.
Man, well, they had to do something because you guys remember, everybody went nuts when they found out how big Hugh Jackman is.
Yeah. But, I'm going to just say this. I don't know about you guys, but my social media feeds had one certain topic that's just been getting kicked over and over and over again this past week. And I thought I just want to watch something so I can take my mind off of all this crap. I want to escape into a good comic book movie where I don't have to think about politics and presidents in the White House. And man, if it doesn't open up in the White House with an assassination attempt on the president.
And I'll say, man, this was one of the ones where, like, what a way to start a flick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love Nightcrawler. So I was pretty thrilled back in 2003 when I found out Cummings was going to be playing Nightcrawler in this movie.
And not only that, man, but remember, people were giving Singer crap that he really wasn't filming the action well in that first X-Men. And he was like, oh, yeah? Well, let me start with this.
Oh, yeah, and he does such a good job, too.
And really, really, they're not super wrong in that first X-Men movie. There's a couple of times where you're just like, this is what you decided to do? I mean, outside of like the Mystique and Wolverine fight's decent, but the rest is like it's pretty sloppy.
I mean, to me, that first X-Men movie really felt like somebody trying to learn how to make an X-Men movie, which is what it was.
Yeah, and then like he just went to graduation school at this point and just said, "Hey, guess what?" But I'll say this: I think this movie also is the best that everybody has looked. Everybody.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is just like the prime of everything. Hugh Jackman has gotten much bigger than he was in the first X-Men movie without getting into the, eating a bowl full of HGH for breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
Everyone.
His biceps are big, but they're not dwarfed by the size of the veins wrapping around.
They're not as ripply as they have become, for sure. But yeah, man, everybody looks good.
Right off the bat, though, where do you guys come down on Alan Cummings as Nightcrawler? Because I've seen some people that are critical of his performance here, and I don't see any real drawbacks to it. I don't see any drawbacks to the look of the character, but I know that there's a certain segment of folks that don't like this Nightcrawler.
I think
they're idiots.
I think
he's great.
I think if that came through, I would surmise, and I don't know, but I would surmise that came from people not knowing that Nightcrawler was German.
Yeah, and I think some of the complaints are that his skin wasn't fuzzy or furry like Nightcrawler in the comics. But come on, you got to let that go.
I don't need that. Nor do I necessarily even want it.
We got X3 if you want some blue furry skin, man, and it doesn't look good.
I kind of like it there. I'll be honest. I think that one's okay. I thought that portrayal was also looking pretty good.
Here's my problem with this opening scene, and it's just a staple of superhero movies in general. Is there's 72 Secret Service agents in the room, right? And they're all trying to shoot at Nightcrawler. At some point, one of them doesn't figure out, hey, this isn't working. Let's try something else. It's 5 minutes of like 75 guys in a room trying to shoot at this thing that isn't, and none of it's working. And so somebody didn't just go, hey, let's all meet in the corner and brainstorm for a second. Like I don't understand that and that's just superhero movies in general. But
I don't know. I think that's life in general, because we've seen a lot of cases recently where people just shoot first and ask questions later. So I think it's just called, I'm scared. What's going on? Boom, boom, boom.
It's almost like an assembly line. If your job is to rivet the third bolt on the axle, you're just going to keep riveting that third bolt no matter what shape the car's in when it gets to you. So I think these guys just know they have one job. And you know what? Everything might go sideways, but nobody's going to say they didn't do their job, which was to shoot their guns until they ran out of bullets.
I saw Modern Times. I know how this works.
Yeah. Oh, man, that is something that's in the public zeitgeist. All the young kids love Modern Times.
Yeah, that's breaking
Chaplin talks in that one, right?
Well, kind of. Well, there's some talky stuff in. I don't want to go into it, but there was a little bit of talking in that one. Yes.
And we get Wolverine up at that Great Salt Lake or Salt Flat. What's the name of that lake? Does it even matter what the name of the lake is? I don't know.
Alkali Lake.
Yeah, that's it, Alkali Lake. So we have Wolverine at this Alkali Lake, and I kind of felt like I'd missed something. Like that didn't make any sense to me why I was there. But the movie does kind of wrap it all up as the story goes on. But did we really need to see Wolverine there at the beginning? I think that could have probably been edited out and the movie would have been just fine.
Well, I mean, you got to show kind of where he was and everything, because he did, he was a rambling man at the end of X-Men 1.
Yeah.
And so he's gets to going and stealing Scott's bike and everything. So I think he got it.
I got another question for you guys. So he's out there, right? And it's clearly like frozen temperatures there.
Right.
He's got just a very small light jacket on. So does Wolverine get frostbite? Does it get do things get to that level with him and then everything regenerates, or does his body not allow him to get to the frostbitten level?
If you toke deeply enough on that cigar, it warms you from the inside out. Ooh. So he doesn't have that problem.
I would think that it would be like, I think frostbite has to come over a certain level of time, and I think he would probably regenerate to the point, as it's going on enough for that not to be a factor. That's his best nerd I got for you.
Yeah. I'll try it sometime.
And he looks muscly with just that little, T-shirt on, so.
I'll be honest, man. If I was in that kind of shape, I wouldn't care where I was.
Oh, I wouldn't
I would
either.
not wear sleeves.
No, in case you got to, break into some place, man, your nipples can cut glass. Whatever you got to do to, get ahead.
Oh man, people would see me with the toboggan and like 2 pairs of gloves and the wool pants, but then I'd have on the old muscle tank top shirt.
Hey, I'm just showing you all what you want to see.
I love skiing, guys.
Oh, but yeah, it's fine. But yeah, he ends up kind of going back to the old mansion there eventually. So all roads
he
lead
actually
home.
gets back to the mansion pretty quickly because they're trying to deconstruct what's happened here with the president because they know it's a mutant, and I think Professor X is going to the old reliable Cerebro to try to figure out who this mutant is, but because Nightcrawler can kind of bamf in and out so much, he can't really close in on his coordinates or something like that, right?
Man, that's how you know this show is legit, folks. He used the right word.
Yeah,
because he
it smells
bamfing.
like sulfur. But I was never mind. Some things that contain sulfur are eggs and beans, so I won't go into that anymore.
Yeah, I like eggs and stuff. They're good. But no, of course, well, he's got to get there. But I mean, so Cerebro plays a giant part in this. I think probably bigger than any of the other X-Men movies for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is kind of the MacGuffin of the movie.
Though, I mean, we'll get into how they recreate that because that was a bit confusing. I'll say that much, but whatever.
No, go ahead.
One thing I really remembered loving about this movie that did not disappoint when I watched it, again here recently, is I remember loving the prison for Magneto and how it looked and how it was built and the way everything functioned, and like the retractable walkway with the accordion kind of plastic on the sides and stuff. Man, it is still beautiful, and it just is a nice piece of concept art, I guess. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, they designed in one, and you got to only see it for 2 or 3 minutes. But, man, they really just let you kind of see it in the process to go through there. So it really kind of gave you – and that's what I think Singer does really well with this entire movie is the staging of everything. Really lets you kind of see what goes what, lays down the rules and says, here's how everything works, and, here's how you're going to follow that trail to get from A to B.
And I do have to say, I was surprised that it held up so well, Magneto's acrylic prison, because it was, it just seems so futuristic at the time watching that movie. And it still looks like something out of the future. It held up really well.
And also, it's pretty efficient storytelling, too, because they're not just showing us the prison to say, look at this cool prison. But, when Professor X and Cyclops go there, they find out that someone has been interrogating Magneto. They see the scar on the back of his neck that matches the one that we saw on the back of Nightcrawler's neck, and we'll learn is the way that Stryker controls mutants. And we find out that for some reason Stryker wants Cerebro. And he also seizes this opportunity to take Cyclops and Professor X captive. And it all just all this is good stuff, in my opinion, in the movie. And it all just kind of flows together well, and it makes sense, and none of it feels tacked on or forced.
And thank God Cyclops got a new eyepiece, man, because holy smoke. And first of all, but nobody questions, he goes, like you said, he goes into with Professor X to see Magneto and everything. Nobody questions this cat walking around with with a visor on like that. No one says boo to any. Okay, that's weird.
Man, come on! You gotta understand that this guy's a mutant, so they're gonna, as long as it's not metal, they're cool with it. They have nothing against ruby quartz.
But hey, at least it's not as big as the one where they were around the museum or whatever the crap with the first one, where that thing was so big and bulky. And I'm like, again, nobody's going, hey, mommy, look at the freak man with the visor on his face.
And I want to talk about that museum scene too, because we kind of skipped over that, but that's at one of the Smithsonian's, right?
Okay.
I mean, it kind of
Natural History Museum, I think.
Yeah, and when they're in the food court, I've been in that food court, and it was just kind of this real nostalgic feeling that there was a time you could actually smoke in the food court at the Smithsonian, because that's happening. One of the kids is smoking.
I actually wrote that in my notes. You could smoke in a museum in 2003?
Man, you could smoke in the you could smoke in the waiting room of the pulmonologist office in 2003.
I'd love. Excuse me, I got to look at your chart here. Let me light up. That's the doctor. Jeez.
Nothing I can break that I can't fix.
That's true.
Let me take a look at how that baby's doing, Mrs. Johnson.
Don't worry, they're low tar.
I like the idea of a big stogie going on during that childbirth.
Come on, pitch it down the plate. What?
But seriously, guys, think of how long ago 2003 is. Like, where were you? Like, think of how different your life is now than in 2003. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's not that far different, sadly.
Oh my God, man! I'm like 3 lifetimes past 2003 now. Seriously,
Honestly,
my life was so different.
No joke, man. I had to carry a pager in 2003. I don't even remember how you charge up a pager now.
They're just AAA batteries.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Never mind.
Charge a pager. What kind of futuristic landscape were you thinking of?
I was working for MTV when this movie came out.
Oh man, those were the days.
It was okay. It was, those are good 2 years. Good 2 years there.
Now, also we get this assistant with Stryker. Later, we'll find out she's Lady Deathstrike. But it had been a while since I saw this movie, and kind of what I thought was they were teasing her to be Lady Deathstrike, but she never full-on went Lady Deathstrike. But for some reason, I had that memory wrong. Like, I thought maybe Lady Deathstrike showed up in a later movie, but she shows up here.
No, she was pretty awesome here, and that's one of the things I definitely remember. And I was just like, when she showed up, it was just like, oh snap, here we go. And like, and somebody that could really give him a run for his money and everything in the fight, which was great.
Yeah, man, very classic Wolverine enemy from the comic books there. But it was one of those things watching this movie, even though I'd seen it before, it's been a while, and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, oh, they're just teasing us that it's going to be Lady Deathstrike and it's not going to pay off. But man, it paid off.
The other thing that I love about these old movies that they don't do now is just the relationship between Cyclops and Wolverine. It's so good. And I missed it so much.
Oh, man, I know. I love that dynamic. And it's also kind of, I don't know, it's hard for me now to watch it and not see Teddy from Westworld, but it's still, Wolverine. And then I think at one point, wasn't he cast as Jesse Custer in a project that never came to fruition?
It was at least bandied about.
Yeah, because, man, that would have been a jagged pill to swallow, I think, now watching this movie again.
Poor James Marsden can't catch a break, man. I mean, I'm glad Westworld's doing good because, and
he's good in it, too.
Yeah, and he totally is. But, man, there was just, like, the longest time where, like, that it seemed like that cat couldn't catch just the right break. I'm like, he's not a bad actor. He just, I don't know, the projects just hadn't been the best,
Yeah. Man, typecast as a one-eyed mutant's not easy.
He had that good long run on 30 Rock, though.
No,
well, did he?
Yeah, that was an all right run. Yeah, but
he was on the show for like 2 years. He's Liz Lemon's love interest.
Oh, I got to go watch that sometime.
Yeah, it's a great show, Bruce. It's only like 10 years old. Go watch it.
I've seen an episode once. I thought it was the Tracy Morgan show, and then I found out he wasn't the only actor, and I got lost interest.
Then I'm like, no good.
I'm out. But, man, when all of Stryker's army guys, I don't know if they're really army or if they're like private mercenaries. I never quite figured out what Stryker's role with the government was. Like, are these Blackwater types or are these like actual military types? But when they all take the school and, Wolverine comes out and fights them off, in my memory, this was like such a bloodbath of Wolverine just cutting these guys down. Like, I had this memory thinking, man, I can't believe that movie wasn't rated R with all of that violence. And then when I watch it again, I'm clearly thinking of some other movie. Yeah,
it's pretty bloodless. I was also kind of waiting. I'm just like, here we go, man. Here's the scene that everybody remembers. And I'm like, oh, we all don't remember it as well as we could. It's that great thing of like your mind going through and filling in all the blanks. Yeah. It's like, because everybody's, the first time they see Reservoir Dogs, swear they see that ear getting cut off. And no, they don't. Their mind filled in the rest. And this movie was no exception to that.
And also, as a longtime fan of Colossus from the comics, I was happy because this is our first, like, official Colossus sighting in this movie. The soldiers are taking over the school.
I was always bummed because he got, like, no real screen time. And you see him as Colossus once, and then he, like, turns it off like he's flexing a muscle that only lasts for so long. And, like, and by so long, I mean 28 seconds, if that.
CGI was expensive, man. They did what they could, I guess.
I don't know. At least
the
it was
real
right
shortcoming
size.
for me was that he didn't have an over-the-top Chekhov level Russian accent when he talked.
I do love that in Deadpool, man. I know that you weren't a big fan of it, Bruce, but man,
No,
I
love that Cyclops, that Colossus in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think
Yeah,
we needed. I think we needed more of that. It is sad that we just couldn't really go the full 9 yards with that.
Like in the comics, even though he lived in New York for several years and clearly could speak English, it's like he never learned the word hello because it was always Strasvitya and Das Vidanya when he left. I mean, I love the ultra Russian version, like Ivan Drago version of Colossus is what I like.
You could take the boy out of Russia, but you can't take the Russia out of the boy.
This ketchup, it like borscht, only cold. I like those kind of lines. Like he's seen a French fry for the first time when he's been in like 700 issues. That old Chris Claremont stuff.
I was about
that you
to
just
say
can't
that's a
find
Chris
nowadays.
Claremont if there ever was.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean,
Look, he fly like Sputnik. It was great, man. It was great. It was like not only did Chris Claremont not really understand what Russians were like, but he also thought it was still like the 50s. So it was just beautiful.
he's like, look, this is what I learned in school. That's all I know. So shut up. What do you want me to crack the internet? It ain't been invented yet, man. Get off my butt.
Yeah, I think he inspired Yakov Smirnoff to a large degree in the mid 80s.
This sounds like it'd be a great thing to do. It's a great Yakov. But I do like. It's so stupid because and I don't know. Maybe it's just a small dumb joy that I get. Wolverine's coming down before the big fight scene there and everything, and he's just like, "Hey, you got a beer? This is a school." First of all, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's just like, so what? No beer? And he goes,
as if Wolverine hadn't been there before. That's the funny part.
But hey, I figured since the last time I was here, you guys stocked up, but apparently not. And he goes, "There's a soda in the cupboard," and I'm just like, "Who's gonna drink a soda from the cupboard? That's just gonna be room temperature at best, if not warm." And they get him to freeze it or chill it down. And I thought that was pretty cool. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I thought, why
That's
can't
the
you?
only reason why that cola was in the cupboard, buddy.
You got that right. But at the same time, I
But
thought.
imagine how much money we save on Freon every year.
But I thought differently this time I was like, couldn't you have just touched the glass? Did you have to blow in it too? Now I got Iceman breath all up in my cola? That's gross. I don't know where
But
he's
it's minty
been.
fresh, you can tell.
Yeah, but he
And
was
I gotta
like
tell
eating
you-
guac
I
or
gotta tell you
something.
something about that kitchen. That kitchen is the only thing in this movie that dates it hardcore. Because looking at
Yeah.
that kitchen, I'm just like, wow, man.
Super stainless
Blue
steel
tile
and-
everywhere.
Yeah.
Lord.
Oh man, but Iceman, man, I didn't remember that he was such a big part of this movie. I think of Iceman as the Bobby Drake from the first movie through all the movies, or in Days of Future Past, he's barely there, but he puts that big ice barrier up between Stryker and Wolverine, and then Stryker starts talking to Wolverine kind of through the glass, and they touch hands, and they're really laying down the foundation for eventually getting into Wolverine's origin story. And I can remember watching this and thinking, oh man, it's going to be awesome when they make the origin of Wolverine.
Wah, wah, wah.
Although I got to tell you, we're kind of missing something here, which is that one of the neat things that Singer does in this movie is that him and the writers are trying to show you the difference between Iceman and Pyro. That look, you can basically a couple of wrong moves and you're going to end up like Pyro does at the end of this thing. And so you have the bad kid and the good kid, and then you see their paths diverge, and it's really cool.
It is really cool too, man. And there's all the necessary parts there for Iceman to be pushed over the brink. I mean, please allow me this pun, but the chilly reception he gets from his family when they find out he's a mutant.
You can see yourself off this show now.
But I love that line from his mom. Have you tried not being a mutant?
Yeah,
it's just kind of a good line.
This was really good. Now, I can't remember if it was at this particular point or not that Bryan Singer actually came out and everything.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, because that almost felt like something Bryan Singer maybe heard from his own mom in the past.
Yeah, because I mean, and obviously, at this point, from being a gay man, that's like, and if you really look at it, there's like even more so than what's already in the books, and you can already interpret and extrapolate for yourself. It seems very, very present, especially during that scene. as to, maybe, experiences that, everyone knows that somebody has been through for sure.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a really good way to kind of go about it and everything, because obviously the first one that you come down to, in the original, iteration of the X-Men comics and whatnot is, allegory for racism and stuff. And that while that all still definitely applies, also, for any other type of lifestyle that you might happen to lead, whether it be gay or who knows what else, and that I thought was a great thing to really kind of bring that back in and kind of have it be a little bit more explicit with not being explicit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Bruce, do you know when that switch happens? And I always.
Are you talking about Bobby Drake, the Bobby Drake switch? Where
no, with X-Men itself, the books. And I'm sorry, I always put you on the spot. With
no, that's fine.
Where they go, because X-Men the books basically goes from an allegory to racism to a allegory for homophobia. Do you know around what time that starts happening?
I think it's around the time North Star got married. I don't remember exactly the year, but North Star was like the first openly gay member of the X-Men, started out in Alpha Flight and came on over to the X-Men. And I really think it's when John Byrne got real involved. I think that's when it started to happen, because that was sort of the new civil rights around that time. So we're talking, 80s, 86, something like that.
Because we'd solved racism at that point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, it's non-existent.
No, it's pretty much all just gone. So good job on you, X-Men.
I couldn't tell you the last time I heard someone use the hard R around me.
The hard R.
But
oh, man, the only people I hate are racists and those damn dirty Dutch. Is that how the old joke goes?
That is the joke.
Yeah.
Come on, but nobody likes the Dutch.
Now, here's another scene, though, that was a lot of fun, is when Mystique decides she's going to start her plot to help Magneto escape, and she finds the security guard in the dive bar.
I tell you what, I bet the actor, when he auditioned for the part, did not know the great time he was going to have on set, and he would tell all of his friends forever and a day.
And, man, I think it would have been, oh, man, there's a part of me, which is why I'll never go far in the world of entertainment, but there's a part of me that would have been like, okay, so we need this part where Mystique looks like a beautiful woman, so we're going to need to get another actress to play Mystique in human form, okay, Miss Romaine? Like, I would have just, can we get Cindy Crawford to play the beautiful woman when Mystique's a human, and then we'll bring you back in for the hideous blue monster, okay, Miss Stamos?
Well, let me tell you something. This movie itself, I kind of want to go, Jennifer Lawrence, have you seen X2? Because she makes a great point when they finally get out in the woods there. We'll skip around a little bit. When she's talking with Nightcrawler, and he's basically saying, hey, look, if you can look like anything that you want, why would you choose to look like this? You could easily, go in. She's like, there's no reason that I should have to, or, something along those lines. And yet, Jennifer Lawrence is all of Mystique Blue for 4 minutes in the latest X-Men movie. She just does not care to put on. And it bugs the crap out of me.
The truthful answer would have been if she said, well, all this makeup covers up my limited acting ability.
Hey, you watch Femme Fatale and you watch your mouth, young man.
Okay. Well,
she can act given the right direction.
J-Law has a little more charisma.
She's a little overrated. I mean, she's not bad, but she's,
for God's sake,
she ain't.
Listen,
man,
they're both great.
I'm not saying she's bad. I'm saying she's a little overrated.
Now
I
will politely excuse Sean from this part of the conversation, but Adam, I mean, at this point in life, you and I know if somebody that looks like Rebecca Romaine comes up to us in a bar, that she's definitely going to, at the very least, steal a kidney from us, right?
Oh, there's nothing good that can come of this. That's where you just go, where's Ashton Kutcher at, man? He's coming out here somewhere.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
By any chance, do you have a, I don't know, maybe a portly friend or maybe somebody who's missing a digit with you that I actually might be able to talk to back in my single days, of course.
Exactly. It's just like, all right, okay, something's not right here.
Where's Alan Funt? You go with Ashton Kutcher, and I'll go with my guy, Alan Funt.
Alan Funt.
Wow. Welcome to Old Man Radio, everyone.
I thought I was making an egregiously outdated reference with Ashton Kutcher and Punk'd, and you go Alan Funt. Congratulations on that.
That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for.
I feel younger every day.
You're on Candid Camera. I still remember the theme song.
Boy, you had all that to remember. I don't know how you did it.
Last night I watched the pilot episode of Mr. Belvedere. True story.
Oh, man. Drop kick your jacket as you come through the door. No one stares. I love that.
That is literally the best part of that show.
Man, well, I don't want to get too far off track, but I tried really hard to get Marty to move to America and be my Mr. Belvedere, but we couldn't get the visa worked out.
My gosh. I would watch that show all day long.
I want him to raise my kids, and I'll just put it on YouTube.
I'll pay the ticket. Let's make that happen.
I get to be the Bob Euchre. That's the deal.
Can't beat that.
But when she takes him into that bathroom stall, you know, she takes the guy, she's roofied him or whatever they had before roofies. And did they have roofies in 2003? You would know this, Adam.
Yes.
Did they have roofies in 2003?
How do you think I got through college? That's a joke, people. That's a joke.
How else did you get a security card dude to go into a bathroom with you, Adam? But anyway, so anyway, she's roofied the guy. And then
Cushion
she
for the pushing, I say.
bends him over the toilet and pulls his pants down and brings out this big thing with like liquid metal in it. I thought for sure she was going to be sticking that in his Exodus Maximus, but she just injects it into his hip. Were you guys thinking that she was going for the easier entryway?
I didn't.
No.
But I'm not a doctor.
No, but I am now.
I'm pretty sure there's at least they at least shot it that way and then decided later not to go with it. Come on, man.
Look, the only thing keeping us
with his pants pulled down.
The only thing keeping us from a regular PG-13 rating is this guy getting metal up the keister. Let's just reshoot. It's $10,000 for the day, but trust me, we won't get the R rating. We're gonna make so much more money at the box office. Get on it.
Hey,
Brian, why are you insisting on this scene? It's literally the only thing keeping us from a PG-13.
Come on,
if you coat
guys.
it in metal, it technically is a can.
Gee whiz. I quit.
But it does make for a cool scene, though, when the security guard the next day just goes into work trying to act like nothing happened. And then Magneto can just sense that there's, I think he says, too much iron in your blood and pulls that fine mist of metal out of him. And that's just so much fun. I love the way they illustrated Magneto's power in that scene there.
They also had a missed opportunity there because that guy had to reek when he came to work the next day.
Yes.
But I think I thought that was really cool. Also, not only that he did that, which was definitely cool, but just the acting that it takes to where he's just sitting there and like it's it's like he just senses it, feels it in the air. It's just like, ooh, I'm going to be able to take advantage of this. Sweet. And
didn't this guy have to go through like one of those airport security metal detectors to get to work? Couldn't that have picked up the metal in his keister?
Well,
I'm just going to stick with the keister narrative.
It kind of did.
They have that scene because he was walking through the metal detector and it detects something, but they let it go.
Ah.
Yeah, it kind of just goes, hey, something's a little bit off here, and then just basically kind of goes back to normal because I guess the machine just goes, well, it just must be the blood or some such nonsense, and then he kind of gets the green light to go.
And I love it that, it's enough that would amount to maybe 3 marbles, but he's able to expand it and stretch it out and just reuse it. And the way he just riddles that cell using such a small amount of metal.
So cool.
I mean, I love the demonstration of Magneto's power there.
And then just making the little flat disc and floating on that. It's just like so well thought out and executed. It's just, I can't applaud that scene more.
And then, meanwhile, Storm and Jean Grey have gone to Boston inside this old church to find Nightcrawler and manage to talk to him and try to get some information from him. And they have the little showdown where Storm basically uses lightning or something to just like blast one of the rafters out of the church. And I'm kind of wondering if that rafter wasn't necessary because the roof doesn't fall in. So if that rafter wasn't necessary, why did they waste money on it? Apparently, the old church had money to spend when they were building that thing. They were throwing up decorative rafters.
It wasn't load-bearing.
It's a non-load-bearing rafter.
It's mostly for your decoration.
You never know when a circus performer is going to want to live in this place, so we need some rafters, ample rafters.
Look, when I built this church, the first thing I wanted to do was have some decorative rafters so a little blue guy could brood on top.
They shot me down on the flying buttresses, but I'll be doggone if they're going to get my rafters.
Welcome to Rafters and Buttresses here on HMP.
No, use the barn wood.
Oh, and then I don't know if you call it the C Squad. We're split up into 3 parts at this point with the X-Men, and we've got the young folks, Rogue and Pyro and Bobby, along with Wolverine, going to Bobby's house, and all that kind of stuff is going bad because Big Brother called the police, and Pyro just goes nuts on the police with his fire.
Well, that was Little Brother, but I guess he acted as Big Brother.
Big Brother, Little Brother, No Brother, Who's Your Mother? I don't know.
We are now at 3 terrific scenes in this movie already, and we're not even halfway through because that is a really excellent scene.
And then the way that Rogue pulls off the gloves, literally, takes the glove off and quiets Pyro down and just shows like she has this immense curse. She tries to kiss Bobby and can only do it for so long, and he starts to have the poppy up veins like the kid in the first movie. So she has that curse to bear, but she's the one person who can shut down any mutant if she just gets her hands on him, and that's kind of a nice way that she decides to do something she doesn't like to do, but to benefit the folks that are their adversaries here.
Let me ask you guys a question when it comes to Rogue in particular. Do you guys like the job Anna Paquin does in these movies?
I like Anna Paquin.
She's fine. I mean, I'm neither here nor there, really. It's pretty neutral. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
I like her. Is she from New Zealand? Like, where's she from originally?
She's Wales, maybe? Something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's English.
Only like the opposite side of the earth from what I speculated, but I get it.
Yeah, she's English of some.
But she's not from the South, though.
No. She's only played an American so many times that it's just like, I believe that's where she's from. And then when she's on like Conan or something, you're just like, what is this voice you're putting? Oh, that's how you speak because you're a person and not just a character I see on
just
the TV.
A character, yeah. But I think she does that.
If only we all had these devices on us where we could instantly find out.
Not gonna do it.
Where she's from. Well, I'm gonna do it. So vamp.
Don't know.
I bet she's from Montgomery, Alabama, man, because she has a pretty good Alabama accent there. Or maybe Mobile. I'm having trouble splitting those hairs there. Maybe Mobile. What do you think, Adam?
Well,
all I know is she's
New Zealand.
Well, there you
Justify.
Go. All right.
Because the piano was in New Zealand, man. So I thought you could only make your first movie in the country in which you were born. Isn't that a Hollywood rule?
You can't leave otherwise. Well, there you go. I was wrong. That's the first, definitely not going to be the last. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, man. Usually when I ask about an actor, they're dead. So that's a step up for me.
Hey, it's no Alan Funt.
But it's Nightcrawler along with Storm and Jean Grey that come in the Blackbird to rescue Wolverine and the kids from this whole situation. And of course, when they're flying away, they get chased by these F-16s, these fighter jets. And, I know we've got some listeners that have spent time in the military and know these details better than I do. But my understanding is that an SR-71 would have no problem outrunning a couple of F-16s.
Sure.
Because, when I was a kid, the Blackbird is based on the SR-71, which was also called the Blackbird by the military. And, the thing is, it was faster than any other plane, and it was a good reconnaissance plane, and you couldn't even shoot it down because it was faster than the missiles and the bullets and stuff. So, for some reason, when it got hit by a missile, that kind of bugged me a little bit.
Well, speaking of things that bug you, though, that's not what bugged me, and we'll go to Sean for this one. Sean, what do you think about the inside of the Blackbird?
I love it so much because it feels like a 50s. It feels like a 50s spaceship movie, where they're in office chairs. And I love it so much, man. They didn't even attempt to make something real in that. And I can tell you because I got a buddy who worked on X-Men First Class that the powers that be at the at X-Men HQ. They don't care. they want what they want, and it does. And realism does not matter in any way. This will look better. We don't want it to look anything like the inside of anything.
It almost felt like they pulled in Corman's crew just for the interior of the Blackbird.
I love it so much.
There's just
man.
colored transparencies, for gauges that they just flick on and off when the thing's going down.
It's like those movies I made in middle school where we tried to convince people that our art classroom was the inside of the USS Enterprise.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. You could feel crew members shaking it.
There's almost a fainting couch on the back.
Well, you never know, man. Somebody might get the vapors when they're flying up there.
They almost do. Wolverine and Pyro themselves almost kind of have a little bit of like, I got an upset tummy. Don't do that again.
Oh, somebody does fall out of the jet at one point, and Nightcrawler has to bamf him and then bamf him back.
Again, another thing really, really cool.
Yeah, but what I think was really cool, man, because this thing's all going sideways. They've been shot. The plane's falling apart. Clearly, the jet is crashing. They don't have stabilizers. Isn't that what it always is in movies? The stabilizers are out. So they're headed for the Earth real fast, and everything just comes to a slow standstill. And, you know, I know this is my man Magneto doing this, and I'm clapping and jumping up and down all alone in my bedroom when I'm watching this.
There's that great line, too, where they all think it's Jean doing it, and she's like, that's not me.
Like, I do none of that.
Not guilty.
But the smart guy that's, you know, just goes like, nah, I got this. Can't these idiots ever learn, essentially is what he's saying.
But the question is, how did Magneto know exactly where that jet was going to decide to bite the dust? Because even a slow jet, I would imagine, moves faster than like a 70-year-old man with armor. So he had to have some way to kind of intuitively know where to be to keep it from crashing.
He's a metal dancer. He knows where it's happening.
Yeah, he has no bamfer with him, so he has to walk.
There's an old phrase in Hollywood, Bruce. It's called, "Why don't you shut up?"
But I do like it, man, and I don't know why I got so much joy out of this, because this could be a real thing, and now if it is, I want one. But they have like inflatable tents that they have with them, and they're all camping out in the woods after Magneto saves them while they're trying to fix the jet, and they just like hook up an air compressor to their tents, and it's just inflating where the rods would normally go in your pup tent when you're putting it up. And I think that's an awesome idea if it works.
That's interesting because there is a new tent manufacturer that's exactly what they do, and it's the guys who started Patagonia started this tent company. Like they moved on to start this tent company, and that's exactly how you put them together.
Because I'm going to fill mine with helium and just float away at night.
I wonder if that's how they got the idea.
I don't go out of doors.
But I mean, the one time where it wouldn't be so bad to have like metal tent rods and metal stakes and everything is when Magneto's around. I'd say, okay, you got tent pitching duty, buddy.
They saved that for the end of which like the last X-Men movie where they're all just building the mansion up again. Yeah. Let's
just building the mansion back.
Let's float all this mansion crap back with our metal powers.
And
don't you think when your main adversary has total control over all things metal that you're probably going to invest in plastics with everything anyway?
Yeah, carbon fiber airplanes and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But we got to talk about this, man, because I got to hear your guys' take on it. But when Mystique sneaks into Wolverine's tent, you guys have any comments on that?
I almost couldn't remember or not if she also morphed into like a dude. I kind of wanted her to also like turn into Scott.
Oh man, that would have been kind of cool. But come on. Everybody who's ever seen an X-Men movie, read an X-Men comic, watched the 92 animated X-Men series, everybody's always thought, what would it be like if Mystique was your girlfriend? Because, we've all imagined it. You could have Margaret Thatcher, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Peggy Hill, really pretty much
I don't know that that's always the direction that I would have gone, but okay, to each his own.
The possibilities are limitless.
Peggy Hill.
Oh, Peggy Hill, you got big feet.
Queen Elizabeth I and II.
Oh, my gosh. No, I don't know. He's not even the same breed of person that we are, Sean. I just don't think.
Angela Merkel.
Oh, my God. Will you shut up already? Angela Merkel.
I got to type, man. I got to type.
Yeah, apparently. But no, that was really cool. But I did like kind of turning into the Stryker thing at the end there while she wasn't on top of him. That would have been funnier. But then again, that's not really what the scene called for.
But at the end, I think it's Jean that manages to unlock suppressed memories in Nightcrawler's brain from when Stryker was manipulating him. And that's when they find out where the base is under the alkali lake or whatever. And they know that that's where Professor X is held. And they've got to go pull off a big rescue.
How dumb do you think Wolverine felt when he was like, I just went out there. There's nothing out there. And she's like, it's under. It's below the surface.
Yeah, Wolverine seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't even check the basement at the Alamo here.
Yeah, he just kind of like, look, I gave it a once over. I was just like, nah.
And then
I looked around into the middle distance. I didn't see anything. I just left.
And we also get a little bit of insight into just how despicable Stryker is, because we find out that what he's been using to control these mutants are cerebrospinal fluid that he pulls from his own mutant son, who's now like essentially a vegetable, in a wheelchair with this big tank hanging to the side of his head, draining fluid out. And he's using that as his tool. And there's some kind of backstory there where he asked Professor X to, quote unquote, cure his son, let's say a mutant conversion therapy, and Professor X wouldn't do it.
So cool and creepy looking, and that they give us the kid or this adult man at this point, give it to us and just go, that's what it is. And they don't over explain it too much, which is nice.
And Bruce, you want to hear something that I know is going to make you happy? The guy who plays Stryker's kid in this movie is also Skinny Bane.
Oh, finally, man. I've been jonesing for some more Skinny Bane.
Yeah.
Well, our prayers are answered. Skinny Bane.
He kind of had the Venom going there, too. I can see it, man. I like it now. I'm going to watch this movie again now.
He exclusively plays guys who get, fluids pumped into him. I can see that.
And then the events of the big rescue start unfolding, man, and it's just all kinds of cool stuff here. They send Mystique in disguised as Wolverine, but it's also a disguise to the audience too. We don't realize it's Mystique as the viewer until a few things unfold there, and we find out that Cyclops has got a dose of that spinal fluid controlling him, and Jean has to kind of use her powers to fight off her. I don't know what you would call him. The guy you marry, not date. Is that what we would call Cyclops here?
Sure.
Yes.
He's the Stephen Amell, not the Grant Gustin. Or no, he is the Grant Gustin, not the Stephen Amell here.
Yeah. But I do like how, it takes literally 2 seconds and Stryker's just like, I know the products that I've made. That ain't it. He just walks in and takes one look at it and goes, nope, that ain't it. Wrong.
But she manages to kind of lock Stryker and some of his guys up inside of one of his own kind of containment units or something. And when Jean blasts Cyclops, he kind of does his concussive force blast from his visor at the same time. And the combination of that TK blast along with his concussive force blast starts to crack up the dam that's holding the river back. But it's one of those slow cracks, like when you get a little ding on your windshield, and then over time it slowly gets bigger and bigger, because things don't come crashing down all at once.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, people are blaming the engineer.
What do you mean you didn't build this to stand up to mutant attack?
What do you think we built this facility for?
Friendly fire from mutants. Every dam should be able to stand up to that.
Figure whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's well. Let's get to the yet another big set piece for this is the Wolverine fight.
Yeah, Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike.
Little Lady Deathstrike coming in there and being more BA than I had even imagined. Walking into this thing, I was like, oh well, this will be cool. And man, Kelly Hu just stepped it up, son.
Oh man,
is there just a regular old Deathstrike, like a guy Deathstrike? Is that why her name's Lady Deathstrike?
No, man. She's, as far as I know, it's just Lady Deathstrike. I think just Deathstrike would have been a little too close to Deathstroke, so you put the lady in front. Mm-hmm. It's not like a Lady Macbeth situation.
You don't call him Mr. Xavier, do you?
I call him Prof.
She's a lady.
Lady Xavier. Isn't she on Stranger Things?
Perhaps.
But yeah, that's a great fight scene. Ends really well. Again, it's another. I love that it's another thing of Singer just going, I can shoot action, you guys, for real.
And I mean, this fight is great. We've got each of them just perforating one another with their claws, and it's all healing up. And it starts to get this feeling like, okay, this is two immortals fighting. This is going to get boring if they don't start to get clever here. And they do get clever. They've got Wolverine kind of stuck up on that metal grate that's being held up by some chains, and she's just poking him like a pincushion through the little openings in the grate, and he reaches up, cuts the chain with his claws, and falls down on her, pushing her down into some water, kicks over some high voltage thing from Frankenstein's castle into the water and shocks her a little bit. But then ultimately, man, he keisters her with some adamantium. And
the cool part is, again, set up earlier by Stryker, just going, hey, here's what this stuff is, really just, laying the groundwork there so it didn't come out of nowhere and you're just like, oh, what's this and all the other stuff, setting it up nice.
And, of course, Magneto has to show that he can never be trusted. Even though he wants to help them rescue X, he's not going to do it without first having Professor X kill all humans. Still using the illusion that the young Kitty Pryde is the one that's asking him to do it, which begs some questions like, why does Professor X seem so eager to satisfy this very young girl? Maybe he's the adult here. He should be the one to say, I understand sometimes you want to kill all humans, Kitty, but maybe we shouldn't.
Nah.
Yeah, it's just like Reggie Jackson in The Naked Gun, kill the queen, Manchurian Candidate style.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Old Man Radio.
I'm like, we're real again. We're
and
really
the hero of that movie
here.
was Enrico Palazzo, in case anybody wants to know.
I still use that term every so often. still dust off that old chestnut.
But Storm comes in there and causes it to snow, I think, and somehow snowing breaks the illusion. I didn't quite connect the dots there.
She's making it cold. She's making it so extremely cold he had to pay attention.
Now, just to be fair, shouldn't Bobby have been the one to do that? I mean, they're really building him up in this story, and they've already had Pyro go to the dark side. So I think personally it might have kind of worked better showing the that diametric opposition of the two that you pointed out earlier, Sean, if they'd had Bobby save the day and Pyro defect to the evil mutants.
I totally agree with you, Bruce, but when you have an Academy Award winner the year before in your movie, you're going to probably use her.
And, she was kind enough to lose whatever that accent was she had in the first one, so they did need to throw her a bone or two.
Ugh.
But would get yet another slightly different accent in number 3, if memory serves. I could be wrong, but... Yeah,
we do. It gets more American as the movies go on. Like here, it's just sort of a neutral American accent, but then she's like young and almost sassy in the
Howdy, y'all. That's my best
Storm. Yeah, kind of like that.
But no, I mean it's okay. But I mean, where my real question is like the whole thing with kind of the fake Cerebro and everything. Where did they get all the money to do that? Like at least in like Deadpool, they came across with like kind of a generic crappy way to do something as opposed to getting the full 9 yards. But they go full Cerebro here almost. And I like how Magneto has to come in, and it's basically like, I'm going to shift a couple of these panels around to other missing places, and then that's what's going to make it go the other direction?
That totally didn't make any sense to me. That's just like, literally just like moving around the furniture in your living room and claiming it makes it look bigger when you're in an 800-square-foot studio apartment. It just ain't going to help any.
It was
Why
very
does it
confusing.
feel like that's from real life from you?
It might be, man. At one point, I lived in a 725-square-foot studio apartment and accidentally got 2 full-size sofas delivered, and that was not a pretty sight.
It's just like, I'm going to open this place up. Let me rearrange a couple of things.
There were 2 choices, either sit directly nose-to-nose or back-to-back. That was the only 2 ways you could put those sofas in that place.
It makes for good charade time or something. I don't know.
But anyway, they pull the Storm maneuver, and it breaks Professor X out of the trance that he's in, and then Magneto and company steal a helicopter and leave, and then the X-Men are stuck with the levee breaking there.
Well,
and once again, those stabilizers are still shot on the airplane.
They couldn't do anything.
Here is a problem, and please keep in mind, everyone, we love this movie. That's your best plan. Is to have the girl whose powers are kind of hinky to try to keep the dam from falling apart completely. That's the best plan you have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were clearly setting up for a third movie that would not be made by Singer, unfortunately. But it did give them a chance to show under that extreme stress. She starts to get a little bit of that Phoenix glow around her hand and everything, and shows, what's always been hinted at. What in the comics, Professor X actually actively mentally blocked Jean from realizing just how powerful she was. I think that would have been interesting to examine in this series. But anyway, it's showing us that under extreme duress that she has the power of a god and doesn't know it, because, we see her at the school learning, trying to practice to move a can of soda from one cabinet to the other or something. But then when she's under stress, she's glowing and suddenly she can basically manipulate reality.
Yeah, and I love it. If Singer were to have done the third one, I think we would have had a completely different thing. And there wouldn't have been a need for X-Men First Class, which, so things worked out. However, I really would have liked to have seen what that X3 would have been with Singer at the helm.
And, X2, I think he had to end the movie with somebody in carbonite, so it was Jean.
Yeah, this is your empire, no doubt there. But hey, props.
Well, and Singer has even admitted to it. When the movie was released, he said, "This is our empire."
Yeah, it's got to be.
And in relative terms of the X-Men trilogy, it's definitely the best of the three, the original X-Men trilogy.
Yeah, next we'd get Muppets, so that's how that goes.
If you think about it, Kelsey Grammer is kind of like an overgrown Ewok.
Very true, very true. I'll give James Marsden props for having to, poor guy, got to act his butt off with a visor on, just being like, hey, man, you can't see this cat's eyes, but he's got to just act all the crap, and that's a tough order, man. But he pulls
a lot of
pretty
mouth
well.
acting happening.
Yeah,
and nostril flaring.
Yeah.
But then again, we do have Carl Urban picking it up in Dredd pretty darn good, so,
Yeah, but...
he was mostly just scowling, though, let's be frank.
And also, Carl Urban is not the same as James Marsden. I'll leave it at that.
They're in the movie The Loft together, which I don't recommend anybody see because it's not very good.
Yeah,
what
man.
movie is it?
It's called The Loft. It's like him and Wentworth Miller, the two of them, Wentworth Miller and somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not good.
Okay.
Don't waste your time.
Maybe Paul Feig. That would be a good fourth person to throw up there.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Sure.
But anyway, they have to go straight after this emotional scene where Jean Grey has been drowned by the alkali lake, which also, it probably burns your skin. It probably feels like bleach if it's that alkali. But anyway, they have to go straight from there to the president and freeze everyone at his press conference and have this scary showdown in the Oval Office with him and tell him he's going to change the contents of his speech to say, despite everything that's happened, we're going to work together with the mutants and not try to kill them all.
Very cool, super ominous and everything. I really like how that was done. And honestly, there's a lot of things in this movie that certainly felt like it, but that very, very comic book.
Yeah. And then they give him the files. It's so cool, 2003, a long time ago, a time where you wouldn't give him a thumb drive. You give him an actual blue folder with paper in it.
And once the feed came back on, nobody goes, hey, what's this? What's this, sir? No one saw this previously?
Whoa, it's magic. The president's a mutant. He made a folder appear out of nowhere.
Get him.
And also, I also like to picture a scenario in which Professor X doesn't understand television, so he just freezes the people in the room and the feed, like everybody sees this conversation because he didn't freeze the whole world, just the room.
You kept the feed going, you jerk.
He's
like one of those
he's sneakily rolling into the Oval Office.
Like when one of those news folks says something horribly insensitive during a commercial and doesn't realize there are satellite feeds out there that don't get the commercials and stuff like that.
You hear him in the background.
That the best?
You hear him in the background. Now we're the X-Men, and don't you tell nobody about this.
Oh man! And then of course we get our promise for what is undoubtedly going to be the most mind-blowing entry in the series whenever X3 comes out, because we see the Phoenix form under the water.
And
in order to be a Phoenix, you have to die and come back. It's kind of what's in the name. I mean, you wouldn't believe what shape that town in Arizona was in before they rebuilt it.
It's fine enough. I mean, I think I don't know. The last third of this movie is the least of the movie for me.
Yeah, but
it's not bad,
we talked about this in Age of Apocalypse, and I loved the Dark Phoenix saga, another Chris Claremont great, and I love the concept of this character, the Phoenix, and I'm just sad that it didn't get pulled off yet to my satisfaction. But we should get another try at it soon.
It's always more, running before you can walk kind of thing, and that I think it's just some people do it well, and some people just feel like, oh, we gotta get to this place right here, right now, and it's just. Well,
I'm sure hoping Sansa doesn't disappoint me.
Yeah.
I thought she did a solid job, man.
Yeah, but we haven't seen her full on Phoenix yet, so we'll have to wait and see what they do with it.
She got fiery, sort of, kind of. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I want the whole movie of Dark Phoenix though. Everybody has to stop her eventually.
It'll happen at some point at this rate. But now, before we get down to reviewing this thing proper, we got to find out how this movie relates back to the only man in Hollywood who could deserve to have such a point on this show. Is how this movie relates back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, thanks, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Longtime listeners to HMP will remember a time when the Stallone connection could have been renamed the Get Carter connection, because there was a time when Get Carter was some sort of weird pop culture vortex where if you made a comic book related movie, Get Carter would come up more than old people bring up Obamacare. Political zinger!
Oh, man.
Today's Stallone connection is a return to the halcyon days of yore, because this week's Stallone connection is X2's Nightcrawler, Alan Cumming. For a guy who has as much pure talent as Alan Cumming, he sure is in a lot of terrible projects. He's in the Smurfs 1, 2, and the Smurfs Christmas special, which I didn't know existed. He's in Garfield. He's in Viva Rock Vegas. But by far, the most interesting movie he's been in, Alan Cumming plays the role of Loki in Mask 2, Masking the Night Away. As anyone who's ever seen this movie can tell you, Son of Mask is one of those rare moments when the sequel is just that much better than the original, sort of like Green Lantern 2, Lanterns Reloaded, or The Last Airbender 2, Shyamalan's Revenge. It seems to be a cash grab for everyone involved, because when asked why he agreed to do the film, the movie's main star, Jamie Kennedy's response was, I'll give you 2.5 million reasons why. The biggest surprise to take away from Son of the Mask is that Jamie Kennedy made $2.5 million for making it. That's crazy. Think about that the next time you have trouble paying your power bill.
Amen.
So there you have it, HMPers, this week's Stallone connection. Now, Richard, Jenny, and Ben Stein, two guys who were in the original Mask, let's review this movie so we can return to our everyday lives. Sorry about that, Adam.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bueller.
I'm saving my Richard Jenny impression to the end. All right, now here on Hero Movie Podcast, we don't have letters, we don't have grades, we have our own arbitrary Robin rating system. Bruce, where does X2, X-Men 2, X-Men United fall on the HMP Robin rating system for you, sir?
Well, compared to the original X-Men movie, there's definitely more money, effort, and passion in this movie than there was in the first one. Personally, I'm a little disappointed that they shied away from the religious aspect, but I guess I'll always have that church scene in Kingsman for that. So overall, it's a good movie. It holds up to rewatching. It's a lot of fun to watch. I'm giving this a solid Tim Drake.
Very nice. Mr. Keenan?
For me, this is a Dick Grayson, and here's why. The first X-Men movie was a surprise. It was like, oh, hey, that was actually pretty good. This movie is not actually pretty good. This is a really, really good movie. If this movie never existed, and let's say that X-Men 3 was the second one, there would be no X-Men franchise. Marvel would have the X-Men back, no problem. But that didn't happen. This movie came out. It was the best superhero movie made at the time, 2003. This is right up there with Spider-Man 2, with the original Christopher Reeve Superman. This is a rock solid movie, so it's a Dick Grayson for me.
Very good. Yeah, this movie holds up pretty darn well. I mean, outside of a couple of things. But I think one of the big things, and we mentioned the character plenty, but Brian Cox coming into this thing was such a windfall. 2003 was like really his year where he was already a big enough, well-established star, but not really a household name. But this era is when he really blew up, man, and him coming in here just led so much gravitas to this entire thing. And when you've already got people like McKellen and Stewart in there, like adding yet another just kind of great veteran actor to come in and just kind of mop up and everything, just really, really good stuff. I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I still, yeah, you're right. It's still probably the best X-Men movie that there is right now. I'm very torn, but I'm going to go just outside of Dick Grayson and go to the Tim Drake, but it's a very, very strong Tim Drake for this one. But again, like I said, I don't think anybody in this movie has looked as good before or since, and it just it works on every level, man. It really, really does. So, all right. I forget off the top of my head what we're doing next week. I don't have my calendar up. Because we did decide on something, didn't we?
We're doing the first 70 Spider-Man movies.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's right. I could not remember off the top of my head. I'm like, I know it had something to do with it. But, yeah, so we're going to be doing does it have a specific name, or is it just a Spider-Man TV movie?
I think it's just called Spider-Man.
Okay. So we're going to dig it up, and I'll leave it. If we can find something, I'll leave kind of a link to show you guys exactly what it is in the in the Facebook on the coming post and everything. So that's facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. Speaking of places,
I'm getting my hopes way up for that movie because the last time I saw it, I was a kid and I loved it. So I think that it's going to hold up and it's going to be great.
The one thing I can remember is Peter Parker has never been older.
This is probably true, and still in high school. But here's the thing, guys. So we're going to be reviewing that, but we also want to make sure that you guys can help us review another movie, and that's going to be the people that help us out on Patreon. You're going to be the ones to help us pick which movie that we're watching, in the last week here of November. So patreon.com/HMP. Even if you throw in $1, you get to vote, and you'll get bonus episodes, all kinds of good stuff. So keep that in mind as well. Until next week, let's go with Sean. Where can we find more of your work on the internet, sir?
This is going to be really easy, you guys. It's Hero Movie Sean on Twitter.
Alrighty. And, of course, now, my guess is let me ask you something, Sean. Do you think that there would be a podcast out there where I could go and listen and maybe hear more about an X-Men that was maybe actually featured in today's episode? Where do you think that such a place exists?
Absolutely not. No way. Not on today's internet.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Bruce knows of a place where people can go and find such information.
Yeah, well, I've got a comic book guy. Ask him.
Yeah,
I've got an episode of Heroes and Villains that I released, I think, yesterday, all about Pyotr Rasputin Colossus.
You say.
A lot of fun with that character. We dive into a lot of stuff there. Also, if people want to, you can go to chubbywizard.com. There's a little banner at the top that says Amazon. Click that and do some Christmas shopping. Help a fella out.
Yeah. So why not, everybody? Appreciate that. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, we'll be talking about that Spider-Man movie. Watch the Facebook page for the link so you know what's what and all that kind of good stuff. Email us if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that. HeroMoviePodcast@gmail.com. We don't give that address out enough, so thought you guys might like that as well. Anyways, until then, for Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
Bye, bye, bye. Me got to, so I'm leaving.